streaming Star Wars, much like the Razor Crest, isn't a whole lot to look like, much like a slot machine on Canto Bight. Hey, that's how we're going to introduce this episode 6 of Streaming Star Wars. I'm Ammo, he's Fletzer. I pointed that way. I meant to point down here because he's down there below. And we are doing, I don't know, what do we want to call this? An abridged version of Streaming Star Wars. This is a Diet Coke, 0-calorie version of Streaming Star Wars on a Friday night.
I will call it the Friday the 13th version. It's sort of anything could happen.
I think what we should call it is Pete had to go shopping with the missus.
I did. We have, I've got kids, and spoiler alert: Santa doesn't bring the toys all by himself.
You know what? So. For the kid that's watching the show, you just really completely just crapped on his holiday.
Well, no, I mean, I need to go and purchase some additional presents to augment what Santa brings, because I know what my children want, and Santa knows. But it's nice to get something from. Anyway, I'm sorry I've derailed us already, and it just started. But
that's right. I got big glass of wine you got there.
I've got a healthy pour, so I'm good.
What is that? Pinot Grigio?
No, this is an Australian Sauvignon Blanc, actually.
Oh, you're so fan. I still can't say Sauvignon Blanc to save my life, so I don't drink it. I have a rule. If I can't pronounce the word, I won't eat it. That's just my word. I don't know why I put glasses on. I've had a lot of wine already. I got Mandy in the other room, the fiance, and then I got my buddy David, who's on Beyond the Blast Doors every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Shameless plug. That's right, because I'm in control right now, and I drank a lot of wine.
Wow.
So we're drinking water now.
Okay, well, good. You're supposed to, was it for every one drink, you're supposed to have 2 glasses of water, or is it the other way around? I don't know. I don't follow either, so.
I can't remember. Hey, so we're here to talk about The Mandalorian. I want to jump in the live chat real quick, because I'm curious to see if there is anyone joining us, because we wanted to do the live show tonight. We always want to go live, but we started so spontaneously. So it looks like there are 5 people watching us live right now. We know that few people, everyone's just getting the notification now, so they'll be joining the live conversation here momentarily. But be sure you start commenting in the live chat. And I just want to go ahead and jump right into this episode, Pete, because it landed one way for me and it landed a completely different way for you. You really liked the episode.
I like the episode a lot. But I think I think this may be part of where you are on it is I don't know where the show's going at this moment, and there's not a lot of time left, and so I have some thoughts on that. But how did it hit you? I'd love to hear how it hit you.
I think for just the 35 or 30-minute adventure that it was a lot of fun. It was cool to go on this mission, and it was fun to finally meet all these different bounty hunters. We get Bill Burr's character.
Yep.
We get Clancy Brown in here as a bounty hunter, and he is someone that everyone has heard in the Star Wars galaxy, voicing several characters throughout Clone Wars and the Rebels, but to actually see him on camera, which was pretty cool. We got a Harry Potter cameo. That's not even fair. I blanked on her name in that moment. I'm going to be very honest with you. But no, it was really cool to see that we had Natalia Tena in there because all I know her as is Tonks. She's been in other stuff too. She's been in, I think, what was her name? Osha in Game of Thrones. Is that her character name?
That's right. I forgot about that one too.
Yeah. So that was really cool for me, and to see how the dynamic between all of them worked. And I liked exploring, how I said Mandalorians, but bounty hunters. They're all going to turn on each other. They're all out for themselves.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was a clear story narrative those first 3 episodes of Season 1. And the last 3 episodes of Season 1 have had nothing to do with that narrative, except for the fact that there was a homing beacon at the end of Chapter 4.
Yep.
In Chapter 5 or 6, Chapter 5 was all about how they found the Yoda, and the kid was going to try and betray the Mandalorian and turn him into the guild.
Yep.
So, I guess it's a TV show. It's Star Wars. So I'm having fun. Don't know where the hell they're going with this story. Honestly, though, I don't think I care anymore. I think I'm just excited to find out what the next chapter is. Of course, we know that Deborah Chow is directing that episode.
Yep.
And so I'm kind of curious to see what they pull off there.
Yeah, I think you're bringing up an interesting point that I was thinking about quite a bit actually after watching it, and I think we've gotten used to watching television, streaming television, and our expectation is that it is a X number of parts in a series. It's going to be all directly related to one another. whether it's Stranger Things or it's Game of Thrones. We've gotten used to that sort of thing. And what we've seen here in Mandalorian is the first 3 episodes were a definite crystal clear arc. And then the last 3 episodes have been sort of Mando and Tiny off on their adventures, but no direct connection. And so I'm starting to wonder, is that going to be what The Mandalorian is? Is it going to be an adventure show? And if that's the case, it's let's tune in for this week's adventure, versus let's tune in for this week's part of the longer story. And I think what's misleading, perhaps, or what's making us believe that there should be more connections, is the fact that, first of all, these are called chapters, and your expectation is when you read a chapter in a book that when one chapter ends leads you into the next one. And to reiterate what you said, the first 3 shows were definitely one particular thing, and then we got 3 stories that really stood on their own, and they were good stories and they were solid, and some were better than others. There were pluses and minuses. We talked last week about some of the issues that I had and you had with chapter 5, but chapter 6, I think overall was a really fun episode. I was just a little bit surprised that it didn't lead us to something bigger. And you know what? I think maybe I just need to get used to that and recognize where we're going. And again, the other thought is, if this was a 22-part Resistance or Clone Wars or Rebels series, you could have an episode like this because you're going to get through that longer string. But at this point, it's really hard to tell what the show wants to be. If it wants to be fun, awesome Star Wars adventure, one-off stories like the Star Wars Adventure Journal from years back, that's great. But I think we're just a little bit confused. I don't think it's been crystal clear, like I said, as to what we're going to be getting.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you. I want to jump in the live chat real quick just to say what everyone else is sharing, I should say, and really appreciate everyone. The live audience is climbing, and right now we're joined with Vincenzo C, I should say. Got a little tongue-tied there, but he says, what a creepy crew The Mandalorian had to deal with, a bit over the top. Episode was okay, but Bill Burr is not a tough guy, and his feet splay out when he runs. Okay. Marie Wilson, beyondtheblastdoor.com. Marie Wilson, my least favorite episode, but Dave Filoni as an X-Wing pilot was fantastical. I agree with you. You had Filoni, you had Deborah Chow, and then you had Rick, the director of this episode. So all 3 of them were the X-Wing pilots, and I thought that was a lot of fun, pretty hysterical. And then Halal Chronicles says Mando is like a comic. Yes, adventures, but Baby Yoda is tying all the adventures together. He is the big arc. So, right, you do have that connective tissue, which is Baby Yoda. But I guess empathizing with what you said, Pete, I really want the story to be more focused. At least that's what I anticipated. Maybe this is like a Rian Johnson thing. They're giving us the show that I didn't think I wanted. Just surprises galore. And so that's what I'm strapping in for. No, it's a fun it's a fun episode, a fun adventure. I do think that fan service was more balanced in this episode.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There were a little bit more nuggets, and I felt like the last episode just so heavily relied on the fact that we went back to Tatooine, we went to the cantina, we got sand people as like street pedestrians. I still don't understand how those same people just walked up there and didn't just murder everybody. But that's just me. That's just me thinking out loud. I did appreciate again Bill Burr. I thought he was great. It has been 42 years, and we haven't gotten a lot in Star Wars, but we finally have a Boston accent. And how did that? When Bill Burr shows up on camera, there's some actors that you're like, oh, this is great, and it's a new character. But when you saw that character pop up, did you see Bill Burr, Pete?
I saw Bill Burr, and you know what? I kind of loved it. I kind of thought he was perfect for that role. But yes, to your point, yes. What was his name? It was Mayfeld. No, he wasn't Mayfeld. He was Bill Burr with a blaster, and that was okay. And I think that's also part of what's weird about this episode. Again, I loved everything. There's some of the best shots of the series were in this episode. Some of the most fun, classic Star Wars sort of storytelling was in this episode. But there was some weird things like Bill Burr, and I'm a Bill Burr fan. I love his stand-up. I went to go see him a couple of years ago with a buddy of mine, and he's great. And he played Bill Burr. I mean, the Gungan line was fantastic. I thought it was great, but it was Bill Burr delivering it. But the most Bill Burr was, "I wasn't a stormtrooper, wise ass." I mean, that was totally that was if Bill Burr lived in the Star Wars universe, that's exactly what we would have gotten.
And I like that. I like the fact that we got that humor in there. It takes me back to how people will sometimes say there's no swearing in Star Wars, but I always go back to Han referencing hell on a Hoth, and I don't know,
Yep.
it felt very of the galaxy. So I was really into that, and I liked how there was this dynamic that every bounty hunter, when they would look at each other, they all knew there's like this greater plan at work. And
hmm
it felt like from the get go, the Mandalorian knew he was getting into a trap, that all these
Well, and
people working against
yeah.
him.
Yeah, and that was one of the strange things too. And I think maybe one of the things that I'm struggling with, and not to interrupt you, but like I don't know why he put himself in that spot to give up his. It was very out of character to me, and I hate to be that fan, but it felt very out of character to me.
It was very out of
For
character for the Mandalorian
actually, yeah,
to show
actually, yeah.
compassion.
um, but it's very out of character for the Mandalorian to not only give up his ship. We don't know his relationship with his ship. We don't know if he's Han Solo with it or what. But to give it up to a droid felt very out of character. So again, maybe we're going to learn more about this guy over the next couple of years, and it'll make more sense. And clearly, they hinted at a much bigger backstory for him. But there was those sort of things. He jumped into this clearly negative, not designed to be in his favor at all situation.
He feels
And
really
maybe we'll
desperate.
need to learn more.
He feels really desperate taking these gigs, whether
Yep.
it's going back to help protect that village, or it's this last chapter 5 where he's trying to help this this brand new bounty hunter, this young, stupid bounty hunter.
Mhm.
But he seems so passionate about just taking whatever gig that can come his way, which
Right.
I think is really fascinating. I guess I built up in my head that he would be a lot more aggressive, rougher around the edges, a lot more reluctant to engage. And you think someone that's carrying this prized possession, again, it's known that he slaughtered like all these bounty hunters with the help of these other Mandalorians. It seems strange that he would go to a bounty hunter outpost where there all these bounty hunters have had to have heard this.
Yeah.
And then well, it all ensues. I will say though, I love the idea of going to the New Republic frigate, the jail
Yep.
frigate. I thought that was really cool. That whole sequence there, it kind of reminded me of some Clone Wars episodes. I liked how that was shot. And I of course I love the how it plays out where they try and turn on him. He does find a way to escape. And then he's able to get out of that situation. Of course, the Mandalorian has to. We have to live to see the next day. But I thought the choreography was really special, and it was something that, for as slow pace as Chapter 5, directed by Dave Filoni, felt. I thought Rick did a really nice job with the fighting choreography, and
Yep.
the pacing here. And let's not forget about the other cameo, Pete. Anakin Skywalker was in this episode
Yeah.
of The
Yeah.
Mandalorian.
Yep. Yeah.
Matt Lanter.
The voice of Anakin from Clone Wars was the only human on the ship, other than perhaps some prisoners. But
Dude, those droids were
but
cool though. Those droids worked though. That felt like that felt Star Wars. Like I was kind of surprised that the New Republic would be using droids to monitor its prison, but I like the idea. They look more
so
intimidating
yeah,
than battle droids.
yeah, they felt to me like Knights of the Old Republic kind of droids. Which was pretty cool, I thought. But let's go back to the character development here of the Mando, because I remember in our first or second or third, it must have been our second or third episode, where you talked about your perspective on your expectation as to what kind of character the Mando would be, and I put my heels in pretty hard that I felt like it was important that we learn and watch this character grow, and we watch him. He couldn't jump straight on the blurgs and start riding and that sort of thing. But now I'm almost at that point back, almost joining you in that I'm like, he's making some very interesting and poor choices. And now I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume maybe he doesn't know what he's got in that little green baby Yoda. He may not know. It seems like even Bill Burr didn't know what it was, and none of that crew knew what Baby Yoda was. They thought it was a pet or something. So he may not know the value other than the value to the guild and to Werner Herzog, etc. But he's he's really making some amateur mistakes, and now he's finding his way out of every single one of them, of course, because he's our hero and he's a great character. But I'm starting to wonder where they're taking him, and maybe that's sort of in parallel with where are they taking the Mando, and where are they taking this series, and what are we going to get out of it, and what are we, when we get to the end, I'm sure we're going to talk about what we expect in these next final two episodes. But I don't know where they're taking him or the show right now. And that's, again, I really enjoyed this episode. It was interesting to hear uh, or read there on the comments that some people, this was their least favorite. To me, this is somewhere in the middle, near the top. I liked the episode a lot, but again, I don't know. I'm not sure what I was supposed to get out of it other than entertainment. And if that's the case, that's awesome. But I don't know that that's the direction that the show's going.
Well, we have no way of knowing what that direction is. Only the creators do, and we know that season 2 is already in production. And so I think you have a really interesting point here is what do we expect to see happen the next
Right.
two episodes? And I'm going to be honest, I would like to think that we see Moff Gideon in this next episode. Maybe they are waiting to show him until Chapter 8, but my hope would be that we could get back to the Imperial nitty-gritty and see that the Mandalorian is being hunted down by the Imperial, splintered group that we met in the first couple of episodes, of course, with Werner Herzog and all those characters.
Yep.
That would be my hope. I had been waiting. I really thought that we were going to come in contact with this rogue gallery an episode or two earlier, but also. I'm not a cinematic storyteller or a TV storyteller, so pacing and television storytelling aren't my forte. So I had to wait a little bit longer. I think this episode is in a few ways an improvement over Chapter 5, and I liked what David was trying to do. I just I like the worlds that we went to. It definitely felt I was distracted by things that normally don't distract me, like character position and just silence, lack of dialogue, and this had fast, witty banter. It was funny.
Yep.
I was laughing. The action I really enjoyed. When you bring in X-wing fighters, it gets a rise out of me about 3 inches, and I get really overwhelmed by the fact that we did get some character development with the Mandalorian. Let's not ignore everything here. He seems to have a past with these bounty hunters, especially with our Twi'lek friend. And I kept trying to go back and forth. I'm like, was it a romantic past? Was this a thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Were they just
Yeah.
friends? The brother seems to have a real attitude problem. I wish he would have just gotten shot in the head really quick, because he frustrated me quite a bit. But I like the dynamic. I like the dynamic there quite a bit. There's just not a whole lot. The episode's pretty straightforward. The Mandalorian is still on the run. He's trying to escape. He's got the kid. He's trying to get some money. He's got to fix his ship. We know the ship is still falling apart. He's probably being hunted still by more bounty hunters, and I think the fact that the droid was able to unscramble the Carl Weathers, the Grief hollow, I wonder if there was a call put out or something was triggered to where now they're able to track the Razor Crest. I could see that happening, and somehow or another that brings the Razor Crest back to the guild. But yeah, just kind of like you said, this was a straightforward adventure, a lot of fun, but it does feel like we deviated from the main narrative, and I'm interested to see how it swings back. But I think go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so Holo Chronicles brought up something in the chat, and it's actually something that I've spoken with Alex Damon about, and a couple other folks. In fact, I think David, you and I have even spoken about that. They Holo Chronicles says, remember the first season is always, what exactly they say, always made for sole purpose of getting the second season made. So I think that's correct, but I also think the thing that I was thinking about when I spoke to Alex is we are introducing people to Star Wars who aren't the people who are watching us now on this podcast, on this live stream, you and me, who we watch these episodes for two reasons: one, to be entertained; number two, to watch for things that we want to talk about on a show; and three, to engage in Twitter on. So these are shows that are made for this. The first season is to introduce everybody to everything, and so from that perspective, I think that's where you end up sometimes uh, having a little bit of disjointedness because they want to just make sure you're learning about the character. That being said, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, you know that those first 3 episodes played together and these last 3 have been sort of one-off stories. What I think, and I've said this earlier and I was wrong, but I think episodes 7 and 8 have to be longer stories. They have to be bigger stories that tie some of this together.
Yeah, I can see that, but I don't think they're going to break the structure that they have right now with the series going no longer than 35 minutes. Again, 35 minutes with the intro and the credits. I just think that's the format that they chose for this first season. I could see them maybe having longer episodes in season 2, but I think that's the format that they selected for this show. Again, before The Mandalorian, there was no precedent for what live-action Star Wars television looked like. You just had these 21, 22-minute episodes that you had for Rebels and Mandalorian, or the Clone Wars and the Resistance. So this was all new territory, and they made the decision to go 30 to 35 minutes. And keep in mind, each one of these episodes is costing $11 million. $11 million for a total of $110 million. So let that sink in. Here's something, and I do think this is interesting. Hollow Chronicles brings this up in the live chat, is that they think that the cliffhanger for the end of season 1 is that the Mandalorian does lose Baby Yoda. He does have a tendency of leaving this child unattended in a vehicle. And I don't know about you, but in the state that I live in, there are laws that if you abandon a child, let's say in a car when it's hot outside, the child could suffocate and die, that's illegal. If it's cold outside and there's like a lot of snow and it's cold, the child could freeze and die. That's illegal. You cannot leave your child on the side of the street. That would be a child abandonment. That is also illegal. So the Mandalorian is not one for rules. He's said that he thinks the New Republic is a joke. He does not like the idea of getting entangled with the New Republic on this cruiser, this jail frigate that we see in Chapter 6. And so he's a man above the law, but he abides by the law, which is why he is not a law-abiding, because he can break the rules when he decides to it. It's not the law, it is his law. That is what we have come to learn here in The Mandalorian through the first 6 chapters. Do you agree or disagree with anything that I said in the last 30 seconds?
Well, first of all, yes, it is wrong to leave a child in a hot or warm car or any car unattended. So
I'm glad
folks,
you stepped up and said something about, because we have been very vocal about our concerns about your parenting skills on the show.
Well, no, I have. That is the one thing I think that I know. I think that's the one thing I took from the manual when I got the child.
You know what
That
my
being
dad told me?
said,
You know what my dad told me? A buddy of his one time at church. This is at church, okay? So I'm like 12 years old, and I said something and really upset my dad. And he goes, "I swear to God, when I get home, I'm just gonna smack you upside the head." And this guy looks at my dad and he goes, "Listen, in public it's abuse, but at home it's discipline." And that line has resonated with me to the ripe age of 27. So there's another parenting tangent here on Streaming Star Wars on a Friday night. Glad you're with us. And Pete, you were going to say something actually important.
yeah, I'm sure it was. I don't remember what it was, but no, I think it had. I think what's interesting is this. I think if we've seen nothing consistent across 6 chapters, it's been a growing love and connection between Mando and the child, and his real concern as he watched Bill Burr pick up the baby and sort of taunt him with it. You definitely got that feeling. And I'll tell you what, if nothing else, Pedro Pascal has done such a great job of acting without seeing his face at all. I think he does a phenomenal job.
You know that, right? He's not in that suit 90% of the time.
Is that true?
There's an article that came out shortly before the season even dropped. He's not even in that suit, which when I found that out, it kind of disrupts the illusion. Like, I want that to be Pedro Pascal. So if Pedro's not in there, who is in there? And then I got to wonder, okay, if Pedro's not in there, this character could be anybody.
That's disappointing if
you know
he's not
saying?
in there. That's I mean, it's not shocking, but it's disappointing.
It's not shocking because 30 seconds ago you were like, "Man, it's really impressive."
Well, no,
Pedro
I mean,
Pascal.
Well,
I'm
that's
calling
why
you
I'm
out.
saying it's not shocking, but it would be disappointing because that means that well, apparently anybody can put on a mask and act. But the point being here is that all right, so whoever's in it, maybe it's the actors, maybe it's the whatever,
It's Boba
what they're
Fett.
able to do with that suit and to get that
It's Cad
connection
Bane.
between the Mandalorian and the child is strong and it's working. So
No, I'm not denying that. I'm obviously just trying to entertain myself here. On a Friday night, Chapter 6, Episode 6 of Streaming Star Wars. Ammo and Fletcher. I'm Ammo. He's Fletcher. That's how these things work. I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted. Can I confess to you?
sure,
Okay.
we're live.
So
Don't forget.
Yeah, we're live. We've been challenged in the live shot. Apparently, who out of the two of us can give the best mouse droid impression?
All right, you go first.
No, screw that. You're going first.
You can't throw out the challenge and make me go first.
Yeah, I can.
All right.
I just did. We're
right,
doing this because we have nothing else better to do.
I'm trying to think here. So, all right, let me try it here. Here we go. Ready? I'm gonna go like all in. I'm doing like this thing. Ready?
Okay.
Go. I don't know if that's any good or not, but
damn, that was good. Oh,
we'll let the people in the chat vote. Your turn. Let's hear. Let's get yours.
Oh man, I don't think that might have been my approach. You might have taken my approach. I feel
See,
I should have.
You should have gone first.
I should have. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just like. Yeah, it's the same thing. You know what? And you're drinking too, which means you're influenced. Which means if I lose this contest, that's even more embarrassing because I've apparently been sobering up. I think I lost that. I think that I lost that. Mr. Rez is like offended. He's like, I can't believe you guys are doing this. Kapow Entertainment is in the live chat. I want to shout him out. A buddy of mine from the 217, and he's in here. He's saying that he hopes that there is an explanation of the child in this first season. I mean, maybe. I would like to see them explore a little bit more of that character, but I could also see a lot of that background being saved for season 2. I think that season 1 is a lot of just throwing darts at the wall and just kind of giving the audience a little bit of everything, a little bit of action, a little bit of suspense, a little bit of the comedy, and then maybe the story is more of a priority in 2. I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty sure Jon Favreau operated with the belief system that he was going to get 2 seasons at least to do this story. So that's just off my head. That's what I'm thinking. And he also later says they had to cut corners where they can in reference to Pedro Pascal not being in this suit. I'm pretty sure it's just because he's not big enough to fill that suit. Take that for what you wish. And as father and son, says Pete wins, which we all knew. We all knew that he could make the better mouse droid sound. That's great.
I'm going to I'm going to have to brag about that in my Twitter feed and maybe do a little cut and just play that. And
what you should do is
now I'm very proud. I'm proud of winning this.
When you're talking about all your merch and you're talking about your next guest on your show, and you'll be like, and the inaugural winner of the mouse droid sound competition on Streaming Star Wars.
I'm making an Around the Galaxy mouse droid shirt. That's next. It's kind of shaped like the logo. If you see it here, it's kind of like one of the versions.
Nothing
of the
like a shameless plug on a Friday night. The only list that's longer than Pete Fletcher and his shameless plugs for Around the Galaxy is Taylor Swift's dating history. Okay, so let's talk about some cameos here. There's a couple deep dives here in this show, and I think that because the episode is straightforward, I think this is kind of like where you can really have the fun. We've identified some of the droids, or not. I said droids, but some of the character cameos that we've had, and that's been a lot of fun. I said droids because I was thinking of Zero, which is voiced by Richard Ayoade. Is that how you say his name? He's that British comedian. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yep. From the what was that show? What was that show in the UK that he's on?
The It Crowd.
Yes.
The It Crowd. Yes. Yeah. So and that's cool too because we've had like a lot of comedians actually pop up on the show. Like 4. Like there's the guy that was driving the taxi in Chapter 1 that gets
Brian Posehn, Horatio Sands, Bill Burr, Zero.
Did you catch the Elzoc 3 reference in this show? That brought me some satisfaction. Name the 2. What are the 2 video games where you have to go to Elzoc 3? Oh yeah, this should have been. If we were giving stuff away this week, this would have been the question.
You know what? I do have an extra hat. If we can get somebody to put it in, because I don't know it. I know it's a video game reference, but But all right, we have 10 people watching. First one to tell us both video games that Dave's got in mind on this wins a Star Wars beanie hat.
Oh
I'm
yeah, that's
calling
legit.
it. What's that?
That's legit. That's a good deal.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I want to see people in the live chat. Let us know. So Alzok 3 is a planet in Star Wars. Was referenced here in The Mandalorian Chapter 3, or Chapter 6, I should say. And it's a deep cut. I've played one of the games where you have to go to this planet. And we're going to give you, I don't know, 10 more seconds?
Yeah, I think the fact that there's no action means there's a lot of people Googling it right now. But that's fun.
Should we, I mean, that's fine. I mean, you can Google and still win the contest. We don't we don't give a damn. Also, so the other references outside. So like we mentioned the Canto Bite reference already to the slot machines, but also the fact that Bill Murray is talking about Gungans on screen.
Oh, that was great. And mocking them. Use to keep your helmet on, right? Or whatever that was. I thought that was great.
Well, but is that contradictory? Because not all Gungans were Jar Jar. And I was under the impression that as the story plays out, Gungans become more integral to life on Naboo, and they become respected. So, I mean, I guess he's a smuggler, he's a bounty hunter, he's kind of a dick. And
he's from Boston.
He's gonna make
no
fun
offense
of,
to Boston people, but I mean, come
well,
on,
now it's Star Wars, so it has to be like Boston.
Boston, right? He's from the planet Boston.
and that's part of the region of the outer regions. It would be like Massachusetts. It's like Massachusetts, but machete combined. That's what I'm going with. Okay, so no one knows this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and ruin it.
Yeah, go ahead. Nail it.
Let's do it. So Star Wars Galaxies and Old Republic are video games where
Star Wars
you have to go.
Galaxies,
But this is the
right.
first time you hear this planet referenced in live action. It's a snowy planet similar to Hoth. More like there's Force Station, which is kind of cool. We mentioned Jar Jar, and also so something that I thought was interesting was Rio Durant's species.
Yep.
The Ardenian is found in this episode of The Mandalorian in the jail cell. So I thought that was kind of cool. Obviously, it's not Rio. Guy looks blind though. He's got like something covering his eyes. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And again, it's been sort of like Baby Yoda. I had an expectation that when they opened up the cell, it was going to be somebody we knew, or it was going to be some sort of big deal. But it was just another Twi'lek.
Just the bro. It was the brother, man. That's not just somebody else. That's a brother who is a grudge against the Mandalorian.
Right. Yeah. But you know what? Here's what I'm loving about the show is Mandalorian. So again, it's got some of those classic Western tropes. It's got the twists. It's got at the end, we all assumed that he killed all the prisoners, but it was great to see them locked up, which means that one day we may see Bill Burr again. We may see that Twi'lek again. May see that Deveronian again. So I thought that was cool. And the whole episode I was watching and I was trying to figure out who Rand was, and he was from the Batman series. He was the one of the detectives. And I thought he was great. I thought they're good characters. But you know what? And correct me if I'm wrong. And maybe again I'm being that guy. But there's a slightly, and I think honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with the music. I think there's sort of a little bit of richness missing from this television series that's missing from that would be in a film. And I think there's some texturing, and I'm not sure if it's because it's television. And that's the look and the way it's shot, or if it's just, I think if you had a full orchestral score beneath it, I think it would add a lot of depth to what's really some solid Star Wars.
I'm with you on that. I really think that while I like Ludwig, and he's obviously done great work on the Creed series and again with Black Panther.
Yep.
Kevin Kiner gets Star Wars on a level that is perfect for this because he gets John Williams, but he can put his own vibe on things, and so it feels like an evolution of the masterpieces that John Williams created with the saga films. And so I wish, and I said this, I think I said this on the first episode with you, I've said this on BTBD Live, is I really do wish that Kevin Kiner would have been tapped to do the music. I think it would flowed really well, and it would have been consistent
Yeah.
with Rebels and with Clone Wars, and I think that would have been really nice as well. And I kind of made the assumption early on, knowing that Dave Filoni was involved with this, that he would bring on Kevin Kiner because of how much they've worked together. So I'm with you. I think that I have complaints, I know, but it is fun, and it is Star Wars, and I appreciate the stories, and I do love all the different takes with the directors. Granted, I know that's also allowed to some inconsistencies. Some episodes are visually told better than others. Some episodes are written better than others. Keep in mind, Chapter 5, one of the reasons why we maybe didn't like that one as much is because it was the first episode not written by Jon Favreau. It was written and directed by Dave Filoni. Didn't work that well. Writing for live action is clearly more of a challenge than writing for the Clone Wars or writing for a series that you've been on for 6 seasons like the Clone Wars. So I'm not bailing on Dave. I think that I just want him to get more and more reps as this show progresses. I want Dave Filoni to master this. Like he's mastered animation. I want him to master live action and tell more stories. I really think that Jon Favreau is going to have a critical role with Star Wars the next couple of decades at the very least. And that excites me a lot. And then, of course, looking ahead, we saw Deborah Chow in this episode. I want to see Deborah Chow do something really special here with Chapter 7. And my fingers are crossed, Pete. My fingers are crossed here because I would freaking love for somehow to either go back to the Armorer or somehow get the Mandalorian to go back to that that memory of his and find out who destroys that Super Destroyer droid there when his family and his village is being taken over by the Separatists. I want that to be, because the rumor online, this isn't a spoiler, just a rumor, just speculation, but that Obi-Wan Kenobi is the Jedi that comes in and slashes that droid. And I want it to be Yoda, but I think it could be Kenobi, but it also might not happen at all. I'm like a meteorologist.
I'd be shocked. I think the chances of it being Yoda are pretty slim, just simply because Yoda will have. I don't know why I think that, but I do think there's a chance that it's Obi-Wan, only because Deborah Chow is taking on that series, and the other rumor, again, pure rumor, and I'm basing it on nothing other than some random stuff I've seen online, is that they say that there's a revelation at the end of the season that rivals the "I am your father" line. Now, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know what that means.
No, see, that's nothing. It's nothing, because this happened to me on Sunday morning. We're doing BTBD Live, and David had found this story, and we actually traced it back. All it is
is it crap? See, I
it's
fell
a CBR
for the
article.
clickbait.
It's a comic book resources article. It's trash. You can speculate anything.
It's CBR. Forget it.
It's
all
speculation. Oh, at the end of season 1. Oh, at the end of season 2. Who knows? This Yoda thing, I hope it's something big. I would think that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, if they're doing this, as far as like the main nuts and bolts of the story, it seems really solid. Like there's a framework that seems really solid with the story. I'm sure that there's going to be something larger with this creature, and I'm sure we'll be satisfied with it. In Filoni and Favreau, we trust. But yeah, I don't want to give CBR any jerks.
Well, all right. So all right. So then let's go this route though. But
how do you like my Christmas tree? Let's go that route. You like my Christmas tree? Still like my Christmas tree?
I do like your Christmas tree. It's beautiful.
Just so everyone knows, Pete tried to incorporate a Christmas tree in his background this week on the show to copycat me, and it just didn't quite work out. So that's why he's in the professional studio, and I still look like I paid $300 for whatever's behind me. All right, sorry, Pete. You were trying to make a valid point. Sorry.
There may be a valid point in here somewhere, but the point that I did. So Deborah Chow has episode 7, and then we have Taika Waititi on episode 8.
Yes.
So I think that there is. I would love to see that connection to the Obi-Wan series. I would love to see some sort of a thing there. But again, this is why I can't help but feel like we're going to get some beefed up sort of bonus sized episodes, just simply because there's so much to do. Now, let me say this. I think that these episodes are able to work at 35 minutes because there's no additional story. It's just Mando's story, right? It was interesting in this episode. This was the first episode where we saw action taking place that wasn't in direct view of the Mando, right? We saw people trying to work their way out of the prison ship, but getting trapped, etc. So, but look, I mean, there's a lot to love about this particular episode. There's a lot of really great things. Again, it was Bill Burr in space. That was cool. I think we got a little bit of sort of vision into the fact that the Mando did some things he's not proud of, which may be one of the reasons why he's so attached to this child. Maybe he feels some sort of guilt.
Maybe he killed a bunch of younglings.
Maybe he did. Yeah, who knows what I would. So if you think about playing the long game, you think about playing a 8-season sort of Game of Thrones thing. This is the kind of story this planet will come back. I think.
Oh, totally.
Totally.
But want to give a shout out real quick to Kyle Larson. He's joining us in the live chat. Kyle Larson,
Kyle,
is a
holy
writer.
cow, great to see you, buddy.
Great to see him, and also does a lot of reviews for StarWarsNewsNet.com. So really glad to have him in the live chat. Be sure you guys are in the live chat talking with him because he is a source of tons of knowledge in the Star Wars world. And I like this idea. As father and son, David is with us in the live chat as well. The prison ship setup and camera work really felt like Alien. I get that. I like that a lot. The lights going out, the flashing lights. It worked for me, Pete.
Which leads me to what I thought was one of the best things, and I don't know if they're going to be able to. It's going to be tough to top this. Is the part of the episode where Mando is sneaking up and the lights are strobing, and you see him in 1 second, and then you don't see him the next. And that built tension. It also reminded you that this guy's a professional. This guy is a professional killer. And actually, just recently, I've been listening to, I don't know if you guys listen to the podcast, The Soundtrack Show with David Collins. And he's been doing, it's a fantastic podcast. He's been analyzing a lot of the Star Wars music. But in between some of the Star Wars films, he was talking a lot about the spaghetti westerns. And it reminded, first of all, the music is sort of a Trent Reznor version of spaghetti western music. But secondly, just those sort of shots that we're getting, the tension that's being built in a gunslinger type of environment. It worked in this episode really, really well. And again, and this takes us back to the beginning and where this conversation has gone. And I wonder if it will be an ongoing conversation for us. And that is, this was an individual adventure. It's building on the adventures of the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. And it may or may not have anything to do with a direct link from chapter 1 to chapter 2 to chapter 3, but it was a fun, really well done adventure. Whereas chapter 5, which a lot of people loved, to me was the same exact episode, right? The same kind of situation in that it was, every time I say the word situation now, because of Lacey Gillerin, I say situation, and that really drives me crazy. I have to stop doing that.
So that's good because I was thinking of like a Molly Cruz same old situation, which is completely different from that.
Same thing. But it's interesting.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's interesting because chapter 5 and chapter 6 are basically the same kind of thing. They're a freestanding story, which grows the Mandalorian story a little bit. It shows the connection between Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian. That grows a little bit. It gives you a little taste of what they are as characters, what decisions they're willing to make. But it stands on its own, right? And if you think about it, back in the 80s and 90s, television series, each episode worked on its own. You could pick up at any time. If somebody hasn't watched The Mandalorian and they pick up on chapter 5 or 6, yeah, it's a good story. What's that little green thing? I don't know. It's cute though. So it really makes me wonder where this is going.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And it's funny that you mentioned like the 80s and 90s because for some reason I started thinking of Vice City, which I think is a kind of a disrespectful for me to bring up since you lived through that time period and you probably enjoyed that show. But yeah,
what are you saying?
I don't. I just could see you wearing the white suit jacket. I'm getting sidetracked.
I'm not gonna lie. I did have a white linen suit and a teal T-shirt underneath.
It was cream,
the little
wasn't it?
Miami Vice, I think, is what you're referring to.
Yeah. Did I say Vice City? I meant Miami Vice. Whatever. No, I'm really
Are you
thrilled.
Crockett or Tubbs?
You're Tubbs. You jerk. You freaking jerk. I almost said something so inappropriate.
I'm not
almost said something.
mailing your Christmas present now. Forget it. It's
Oh,
done.
I'm just
It's
teasing you.
over. We're done.
All right. So Kyle,
Enjoy chapter 7 on your own. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, whatever. No, I'm really excited. Well, and the fact of the matter is, we're not gonna have to wait as long for this next episode, right? Next episode's on Wednesday. So that's
right. It's only what 5
No,
days away.
Is it Tuesday, the 17th, or is it
Wednesday the 18th?
Wednesday the 18th. That's right. And then we get. Okay. So let's do this because I think we've hit the episode ad nauseum, haven't we?
I think that's enough. Yes.
Okay. So Kyle says if the episodes were 10 minutes longer, I wouldn't complain. Okay. Yeah. If it was 10 minutes longer and it was tight, yes. But 10 minutes of like not good storytelling. I mean, I get so sorry. I'm sorry, Kyle. You opened up a can of worms here. Runtime does not have a direct correlation with the quality of the film. Let's look at The Irishman, for example. The Irishman is 3.5 hours. It took me 3 sittings to finish. I'm even going to put myself on my camera shot. This doesn't happen very often. Okay,
here he goes.
3.5
Strap yourselves
hours.
in, folks.
Strap in, strap on. Okay, so 3.5 hours. Took me 3 times to watch this movie. And I think had this movie been 25, maybe 45 minutes shorter, it's a lot more accessible for a lot larger of an audience. Instead, it kind of feels like Martin just called up Pesci and De Niro and Pacino and was like, hey, let's make a movie as friends and chronicle our lives. And like literally De Niro, the last scene is dying. That's not a spoiler, but yeah, it's kind of scary to see De Niro like almost die. Okay, so anyways, that was a side tangent. But yeah, I don't think there's a direct correlation there between the runtime and the quality of the story. And honestly, because I think we're dealing with so many directors, I'm very comfortable with it being somewhere between 30 and 35 minutes because I think it limits the inconsistency between the episodes. We liked what Dave Filoni did the first episode. We really like what Rick did with the second episode. We love Deborah Chow. We're kind of curious about Bryce Dallas Howard working on Chapter 4. Filoni took a couple steps back on Chapter 5, and here in Chapter 6, we're like, yeah, Rick is probably, like he's proven to be the most consistent so far. But if Deborah Chow does anything more than a 6 out of 10 on Wednesday, she's probably the best director so far in the series. So that's just my take.
Yeah, I think Wednesday's episode is it'll be interesting because now we've seen 2 from Filoni, and one was
cool,
better than expected, and the second was
as expected.
Not great. Yeah,
yeah, but it did not meet expectations. We'll say
right.
That much.
We've seen now 2 from Fukuyama. I'm sorry, I'm saying his name wrong.
Wow. Try harder.
We've seen 2 from that guy, and both have been stellar. I thought. I mean, I liked the episode he did. It was the second one, right? The Jawa episode.
Yeah.
He knows how to do action. He knows how to do. To me, both of those have felt like they were shot the most like a major motion picture.
The Mando climbed a sandcrawler was pretty cool. Now, where I was going with this before, because we have kind of hit this episode ad nauseum, you drink that wine. Don't sip it. That's a chugging wine right there.
But it was up to here when I started, so.
I know.
I don't even know how long we've been on, but it's been going pretty fast.
An hour. About an hour.
All right,
See, when you're intoxicated, time moves slower. Or maybe it doesn't. So how are you going to watch the Rise of Skywalker when that comes out next week? Because I know that we're strictly a Disney Plus show, but at the same time, we get this episode on Wednesday, and then I'm watching The Mandalorian or The Rise of Skywalker, 10 p.m. showing Central Time on Thursday the 19th.
So and I think this actually does tie directly to the show because I wonder if there is a reason why they were adamant. I mean, okay, so you had 2 choices with episode 7 or chapter 7. Did you do it the Friday that Rise of Skywalker officially opens? Not a great idea. Do you do it beforehand? And then the closer, chapter 8, is again back on the Friday. I wonder, and I like to think that there's some sort of connection. Maybe not a direct overemphasized connection, but some sort of connection that we'll get when you watch it when you watch that final episode after you've seen Rise of Skywalker. That said, to answer your question, I am going on Thursday night to IMAX with my daughter and my buddy across the street and his daughter, my nerdy friend who every time there's a major geek film, whether it's Marvel or Star Wars, we go out that Thursday night and we check it out. Friday afternoon, I'm taking the day and going with a bunch of high school friends. This has become a tradition since Disney has taken on Star Wars. Um, every Friday, every opening day, we go as a group and we go to like a 2 o'clock show and we watch the movie and then we have some beers and we talk it over. And then on Saturday, as if I haven't seen it enough, Saturday I will be going with my wife and my 2 children and her brother, who's sort of the target audience, and that he's not a full-on Star Wars nerd, but he enjoys the films. He went to go see Attack of the Clones with me at the premiere in New York. Not Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith years ago. So he's Star Wars fan enough, but he's not. It's not like a second job like it is for us. So I'm catching it 3 times on opening weekend, and I'm curious as to whether or not there will be some sort of connection or callback.
I got stood up. I'm not happy because I'm going to see it Thursday night at 10 p.m. And David, who's my best friend of 15 years, he is deciding to go see the show with some other dude that he knows. And he's known for only about 5 years. So if I do the math, he sucks.
Not cool.
Yeah, not
that
cool.
is not cool. Yeah.
So I'm going to see the show. I guess I'm going to go by myself Thursday
Wait,
night.
is this David from the Beyond the Blasters?
Yeah, this is Gilbert. Yeah, Gilbert stood me up for another man, and I'm not happy about it.
Look, dude, if you need a host on Sunday, I'm already doing 2 shows, but if you need somebody to step in, I'm happy to do it.
You know what? Here, in a moment of weakness, I don't need you to promote that you're on 2 shows. Okay. In a moment.
So
of
are
weakness,
you?
I need you to pick me up. Okay, that's beside the point. I'm not pointing it out. Just give me empathy. Okay, coddle me. Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna go Thursday night.
It's gonna be okay. It's
by
gonna
myself.
Be okay.
You're
going by yourself. You're not even bringing your fiance.
Mandy has to work the next day. It's not going to work out. So I'm going to go by myself.
The next day.
Night. Yeah.
The next day.
Yeah, I know. Well, see,
is she working?
She's a teacher. She has to be up at like 5:30 in the morning. So I'm going to be going by myself on Thursday, like I've said 7 times now. So Pete, thank you for that. This is very dramatic for me.
I saw Rogue One by myself, so
no one cares. No one asked. So then I'm going to go back Saturday and hopefully go with David, but I can't go with him for my first viewing because then what's going to happen is we'll be watching it, and as we saw in the last TV spot, as Kylo Ren descends into the Sith catacombs, he's going to be like, hey, look at this. This is going to be awesome. And then I'm just going to be, I'm like, fuck. Or shoot. Oh, well, whatever. This is now a PG-13 episode of streaming Star Wars on a Friday.
That's our one F-bomb.
That's our one F-bomb. I'm sobering up. And so, yeah, I have to be strategic about how I go view this movie now with David so he doesn't sabotage my viewing experience. And I don't want to sabotage yours either. So that's very important. So I will be at the AMC 6 in Quincy, Illinois on Friday or Thursday night at 10 p.m.
But this brings up a really interesting point, and I think it's important because what's that?
I need better friends.
You need better friends, clearly.
Everyone in the live chat's like, this guy's pathetic.
You do a freaking Star Wars podcast with this guy, and he's not going with you? That's really Hey, David, if you're watching.
He's my best man. He's my best man. He's not watching. He's in the other room right now watching Home Alone with my girlfriend.
Well, I don't know that I would trust that right now, to be honest with you.
I'm not worried. I've seen him with women before. It's never
all right,
gone
but
well.
Seriously, dude, this guy does a Star Wars podcast with you, and he bailed on you. All right, this is becoming therapy, and I'm going to stop right here. But that being said,
we're not talking about your kids right now. We're talking about me.
Where I was going with this was when we do our show on Wednesday next week, which is the plan, I think, to try to do the show Wednesday night. It's going to be even less promoted than this probably because I am officially, like I've said, I've been going off social media, which is near impossible to do. But the premiere is Monday in LA. So the word will be out on what is in The Rise of Skywalker after Monday. So I encourage any fan who wants to avoid all spoilers at all costs to go dark until you get a chance to see it after this Sunday.
I think that's
because it's going to be out there.
I think that's really good advice. I'm I'm gonna gamble. I'm going all in. I'm gonna stay on social media. I like to watch Twitter implode. Like yesterday, for some reason, it's like Twitter woke up and was like, "I'm just gonna shit on everyone around me." Now we have to stop swearing because we have maxed out our PG-13 criteria. But that's literally what happened. Like I'm like, why is everyone complaining? And apparently, like John Boyega said something about like being mentally strong to avoid the haters, and people were trying to
Yeah, and it
misconstrue
was
that.
taken out of context,
Yeah,
as shocking social media does.
and I just hate people who do
Um,
that crap. It's just find something better to do with your time.
yeah, what I think the challenge will be is going to be trying to avoid all that stuff. I mean, when Rise of Sky when I'm sorry, Last Jedi came out, and now we're just rambling and we're totally off the Mandalorian, and we'll find a way to bring it back. And if you're listening and you made it this far, God bless. Thank you for coming.
May the force be with
But
you.
yeah, right. But I remember I was sort of flipping through social media before Last Jedi, and I saw a simple headline that said, "How did Kylo Ren kill Luke Skywalker?" And I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Now, obviously, it wasn't a direct thing, but I jumped off, and I'm absolutely. You will see tweets from me, because what I have been doing is I have been sort of tweeting just to promote the show, because as David has pointed out, I'm a shameless self promoter. But I also I want to DMs are where I keep up with some good friends that I've made over social media, and um it's important to sort of stay connected. But if you want to avoid any chance of knowing anything, and here's the deal, guys, and I know this is not a Rise of Skywalker show, um, I don't think we have any idea what we're going to see, even with all the television commercials, all the things that they've leaked. We know, not leaked, but shared. We know J.J. Abrams is not going to give away anything big. So there's bigger stuff than we think we already know happening when it hits theaters next week. So just be careful out there is all I'm saying. As they would say on Hill Street Blues, speaking of 80s and 90s television, be careful out there.
Be careful out there, and we want to make sure that you're careful out there. So if you want to avoid spoilers, the best place to go just to find out about our show specifically, at Streaming Star Wars, at Streaming SW on Twitter. Follow us there. Go directly there. You'll get updates about our show. We won't spoil anything for you, we promise. And as always, you catch us live here on the Beyond the Blast Doors YouTube channel, but you can also get the rewind here as well. You can also find us on the Around the Galaxy podcast stream. So wherever you listen to podcasts, type in Around the Galaxy, and you will find the latest and greatest episode of Streaming Star Wars. Mr. Pete Fletcher, anything else we need to get out there on this Friday night?
I don't think so. I think one thing that I do I will give a little shameless self promotion.
It'd be more effective if you got it right.
Yeah, right. Of course. The last Around the Galaxy before Rise of Skywalker last week, I had the opportunity to record an episode with 5 other really fun podcasters, and we just geeked out over what has happened since Disney, and what we're looking forward to in Rise of Skywalker. And that's a fun way to, spoiler free, get yourself psyched up for the Rise of Skywalker, and that'll drop on probably late Monday night, so that you get a chance to listen to it before you go see the show.
Very cool. Watch the live show is a lot of fun. Had Hollow Chronicles on there, had Charlie Skywalker on there, had a few others. As Father and Son were on there. It was a great time. And so it'll be Sunday. I think the plan is for us to get together. I don't know. David's sleeping on the couch. I think the plan is for us to get together. If not, it'll be on Monday. But we want to get together, and we want to go through. Last Christmas, we did a year-out prediction of what will happen in The Last Jedi, and I got a lot of things, or not in The Last Jedi, but The Rise of Skywalker. And the point is, I got a lot of things wrong. We're going to go through a lot of that stuff, because even just the trailers have proven me wrong on a great many things. So we're really excited to check that out. A year later, it'll be kind of scary. I was like 25 pounds heavier, and wow, what a difference a year makes. So, Pete Fletcher, where's the best place to follow you would be at Fletcher Pete on Twitter?
Well, you can catch me at Fletcher Pete or at ATGcast. And I just want to say, this is I normally don't gush on these sort of things, but seeing Kyle in the chat is so great. I know Kyle was one of the first guys to really embraced me on social media, and he actually reviewed my Phantom Menace fan fiction, and is just a great dude. And I'm just so happy to see his smiling face in the well, I guess it's more of a pensive face in
It's an icon.
his profile picture. But just to see Kyle hanging out with us is great, and all the folks who hung out with us today. We had some of our regulars like Mr. Rez and Chronicles, and but we got as father and son joined us, and Kyle. It was just great to see everybody, as it is every week. And David, I don't know about you, but I'm always just shocked when I see any single download or watch of our show, and I'm just so happy and excited to be part of the Star Wars community right now.
Absolutely, because I'm thinking, why the hell would you listen to me talk about Star Wars? But no, we have a good time here, and obviously our community continues to grow, which is always really exciting. And they let us drink on the job, which is really thrilling.
It's the only job you can do. Like, you
I've had
couldn't
water
get on
the entire
TV
time.
and do this. I mean, this would be bad.
No, I would lose my job. I would be homeless, and yeah, I wouldn't even be able to do the show because I'd have to sell my computer and probably my body to survive. Okay, so that's episode 6. That got dark really quick. That's episode 6 of Streaming Star Wars, and we are so glad to be with you. So again, to Kyle Larson, Mr. Rez, Chronicles, we got Kapow, Mr. Rez, Pete Fletzer, well, he's the host, he doesn't count, as father and son, and so many more joining us here for this Chapter 6. And of course, you catching us on the Rewind, listening on the podcast. We're really glad that we can have this Star Wars conversation with you. Make sure that you follow us again on our Twitter at Streaming Star Wars. Find us on Beyond the Blasters YouTube channel or Around the Galaxy. That's going to do it for us this week. It's been a pleasure. May the Force be with you.